Emma stood at the edge of the cafe patio, the sunlight soft and warm on her skin, feeling the hum of the late afternoon around her. People moved past in gentle waves, the smell of coffee and pastries mingling in the air. But what caught her attention most was the subtle way a group of strangers seemed to be looking at her, not in a rude or intrusive way, but in a curious, gentle way, as if they were waiting for something, as if her presence alone had stirred something unspoken. She felt her heartbeat skip slightly, a mix of excitement and apprehension running through her. She wasn't sure why, but she had the sudden urge to see what this attention could bring. She let herself take a slow step forward, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, feeling the breeze lift it softly, and she noticed how each glance toward her was careful, polite, yet lingering. Inside the cafe, a small group gathered near a cluster of tables, talking quietly, their voices blending with the soft hum of background music and the clinking of cups. She could see smiles that didn't reach just the mouth but the eyes that held a warmth, a subtle interest, and Emma felt a flutter of something she hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of being noticed, of mattering. She felt a tiny thrill run through her chest, the ordinary afternoon suddenly turning into something electric. Something that felt like a quiet invitation. She tilted her head slightly, letting herself notice the small things, the way one man's hands fidgeted with his coffee cup, how a woman tucked a curl behind her ear nervously, how another man laughed softly and looked her way, and in all of it, there was a kind of anticipation, unspoken and delicate. Emma's first instinct was to retreat, to walk away and pretend she hadn't noticed, but a deeper, bolder part of her nudged forward, telling her to stay, to welcome this attention, to see what could happen if she allowed herself to step fully into the moment. She straightened her back, adjusted the strap of her bag, and took another step closer to the entrance, her chest tight with a mixture of nervousness and excitement, her mind racing with small possibilities, none of them certain, all of them thrilling. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in months, the city around her fading slightly as she focused on the group, their presence wrapping around her like a soft, magnetic pull. One of the men caught her gaze first, a young man with soft brown eyes that seemed to hold curiosity and gentle amusement. He gave her a small nod, subtle and unassuming, and Emma found herself nodding back, almost instinctively, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, the kind that spoke of shared understanding, of a moment acknowledged without words. Her chest warmed at the gesture, a quiet courage building inside her, and she realized she wanted to be part of whatever this little universe of strangers was, to step inside and let the connection unfold naturally. Emma noticed a woman from the group standing slightly apart, a warm, welcoming smile on her face. As if sensing Emma's hesitation, she said softly, "Emma, right? We thought you might join us." Her tone was gentle, not commanding, just open, inviting, and Emma felt a relief she hadn't expected, a tiny spark of confidence that made her step forward without overthinking, without needing a perfect reason, just letting herself be led by the simple desire to belong, to be part of something that felt quietly special. She allowed the corners of her lips to lift in a small, natural smile, one that reflected curiosity, anticipation, and readiness. As she stepped closer, she could hear fragments of their conversation, easy and light, nothing heavy, yet filled with the kind of warmth that made people feel safe and included. Their words carried no judgment, only a gentle openness that made her feel like a friend before she had even spoken. Emma felt her pulse quicken, a combination of nerves and excitement, a sense of stepping into a story that wasn't written yet but promised something tender, something meaningful, the kind of connection that made ordinary days feel extraordinary. she reached the edge of the group, feeling the subtle energy that seemed to flow from them like sunlight, gentle, enveloping, and inviting. Emma pulled out a chair at a nearby empty table, pretending to adjust her bag, her fingers brushing the fabric lightly, but she couldn't stop herself from looking at the group, her eyes drifting toward them repeatedly, noticing how their attention seemed to shift, subtly, naturally, toward her, and she realized that they weren't just looking, they were waiting for her to decide, to take the first step toward joining them fully. A small laugh escaped her lips, soft and almost involuntary. The thrill of the moment weaving through her chest, she felt alive, seen, and unguarded all at once. The first man, the one with soft brown eyes, leaned forward slightly, his posture open, his gaze attentive, and Emma felt a shiver of recognition, not of him personally, but of the connection forming in the space between them. A delicate bridge of curiosity and interest. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, letting the small smile linger, letting the warmth of their attention settle over her, and she realized she didn't want to step back, she wanted to step in, to let this subtle magnetism draw her closer, to explore the quiet, unfolding story of being noticed. As she finally joined the circle, the woman who had called her name spoke again, her voice soft, almost like a gentle nudge. "We were hoping you'd come sit with us, Emma." And Emma felt her heart lift, a feeling of welcome spreading through her like sunlight. Simple yet profound, she allowed herself to be pulled into their conversation, laughing softly at a joke someone made, noticing the way everyone leaned slightly toward her, hanging on her responses, nodding gently, smiling warmly, and in that moment, she felt a sense of inclusion she hadn't felt in a long time, the kind that made her chest tighten pleasantly, like coming home to a place she hadn't known she missed. Time seemed to stretch strangely, the ordinary clatter of the cafe fading into the background as Emma found herself fully present with them, the small details of their expressions, gestures, and voices painting a picture of gentle acceptance and quiet interest. She noticed how one man shifted his weight nervously when he spoke, how a woman's laughter carried a softness that made Emma's chest ache with a longing she didn't yet understand, how the first man's eyes never left her for more than a heartbeat, and in each glance there was a thread, delicate, invisible, connecting them, inviting her to step further into the space they offered. The city outside the window felt distant, the sunlight waning slowly, casting long golden streaks across the floor, and Emma realized she had been holding her breath, unconsciously, waiting for some signal, some reason to retreat, but there was none. Only the pull of this unexpected attention, this tender curiosity, and she let herself relax, letting a sense of belonging wash over her in soft waves, feeling a subtle courage blossom inside, a willingness to embrace the unknown warmth they offered. A gentle joke made her laugh aloud, and she felt the group's energy shift slightly, a quiet ripple of approval and amusement that made her cheeks flush. She noticed how they responded to her naturally, with interest and care, no pretense, no pressure, only the simple delight of connection, and Emma felt a deep longing stir within her, a desire to linger, to be fully present in this unexpected bubble of affection and curiosity. She felt seen, recognized, welcomed in a way that was quiet yet profound. Emma realized then that she had a choice, to retreat into her old habits of staying invisible, unnoticed, safe, or to step fully into this moment, into this group, into the gentle, tender attention that awaited her. She made the decision almost instinctively, letting herself move closer, letting the warmth of their smiles and the gentle pull of their glances guide her, letting herself be included, being seen without pretense, and feeling a quiet thrill that ran through her chest, a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. As the first part of the afternoon faded, Emma settled into her chair, letting her hands rest lightly on the table, feeling the energy of the group like sunlight on her skin, soft, gentle, alive. She listened as they shared small stories, laughs, and comments, and she felt herself pulled in, heart and mind, into the rhythm of their conversation, a quiet, delicate intimacy forming between them, subtle yet undeniable, a promise of connection and warmth she hadn't realized she was craving so deeply. By the time the shadows began to stretch across the patio, Emma felt a delicate excitement stirring in her chest, a mixture of curiosity, longing, and anticipation. The ordinary afternoon transformed into the beginning of something new, something tender, something she had welcomed with courage and openness, feeling alive in a way that made her step a little taller, her smile a little brighter, her heart a little freer, and she knew, in that soft, glowing light, that this was only the start of a story she was ready to step fully into. Emma settled into the circle, feeling the energy of the group surround her like a gentle, warm current, each person offering a kind of attention that was soft but electric, a feeling she hadn't realized she had missed until now. The cafe seemed smaller, the world outside quieter, as if everything had shifted to center around this little cluster of people and the unspoken invitation to be fully present. She listened to their conversation, laughing lightly at jokes, her smile natural, effortless, feeling the subtle pull of connection that made her heart beat a little faster. One of the men, the one with soft brown eyes, leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, watching her with a quiet intensity that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in months. It wasn't just about attraction, it was curiosity, interest, a desire to understand her, and Emma felt a warm flutter in her chest. She adjusted her posture slightly, smoothing her skirt, feeling the nervous excitement ripple through her. She realized she wanted to be part of this, to explore the connection forming in this small circle of strangers who somehow already felt like friends. "Tell us more about yourself," he said softly, his voice low but inviting, and Emma felt a momentary hesitation, a small flicker of fear that she might reveal too much, be too exposed, but she quickly pushed it aside, letting herself speak, sharing little stories about her life in the city, her love for quiet walks in the park, the books she read on rainy afternoons, the small adventures she took to feel alive, and as she spoke, she noticed how everyone leaned in, their attention fixed on her words, nodding, smiling, reacting gently, making her feel that every story she told mattered, that she mattered. The woman beside him laughed softly at one of Emma's anecdotes, her eyes sparkling with amusement, and Emma felt a warmth bloom inside her, a connection forming that was subtle yet profound. She realized that the group wasn't just listening, they were responding, reflecting her energy back to her, creating a bubble of intimacy that felt tender and real, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel for a long time, a mixture of comfort and excitement, a promise of gentle closeness. Emma noticed small details that made her heart flutter, the way one man shifted his weight nervously when he laughed, how another woman's fingers tapped lightly on the table when she spoke, subtle gestures that revealed a kind of vulnerability. And in recognizing it, Emma felt a strange, tender empathy, a desire to connect not just on the surface but in the quiet spaces between words, the invisible threads that bound people together when they were open, present, and attentive. The sunlight shifted slowly, painting golden highlights across their faces, making the ordinary scene feel magical, as if the world outside had dimmed to let this moment shine. Emma felt herself opening, letting her guard down, laughing more freely, speaking more honestly, and noticing the small smiles, the gentle nods, the soft encouragement in the way they listened, all of it weaving a sense of belonging around her, a delicate intimacy that made her heart ache with a longing she didn't quite understand. One of the men reached for his coffee cup, then paused, glancing at her with a question in his eyes, and Emma felt her chest tighten slightly, a mixture of shyness and thrill, the sense that she was not just noticed, but valued, considered. In a way that was subtle yet profound, she let her hands rest lightly on the table, keeping her posture relaxed, letting the conversation flow, feeling herself drawn deeper into the moment, into the gentle orbit of this group, and into a connection that felt new, fragile, and precious. Emma shared a story about a small, quiet trip she had taken to the countryside, the way the air smelled after rain, the feeling of grass beneath her bare feet, and as she spoke, she noticed how the group listened, their eyes soft, their faces open, leaning in slightly, hanging on her words, and she felt a thrill of recognition, of being truly seen, of being heard in a way that went beyond small talk, beyond polite listening, something deeper, a quiet understanding that made her chest warm, her shoulders relax, and her heart open. Time seemed to stretch, bending around them, the hum of the cafe fading into a soft backdrop, the world outside no longer pressing in, and Emma felt a sense of suspended reality, where nothing mattered except the gentle interaction of smiles, glances, laughter, and words, each moment building a delicate thread of intimacy that wrapped around her like a soft cloak, making her feel light, buoyant, alive in a way that was almost intoxicating. The woman beside her reached across subtly to tuck a loose curl behind Emma's ear, a gesture so simple yet intimate, and Emma's chest tightened, a shiver running through her, a delicate spark of something she hadn't expected, a warmth that spread slowly through her body, making her pulse race gently, and she realized she wanted to linger in this feeling, to explore it further, to see where this tender attention could lead, without fear, without hesitation, only curiosity and desire to belong. Emma noticed how the first man's eyes followed her lightly when she shifted in her seat, how he seemed to match his energy to hers, soft and careful, creating a sense of balance, a quiet rhythm between them, and she felt a pull toward him. A gentle attraction that was more emotional than physical, more about connection and attention, about being acknowledged in a way that made her heart swell. She smiled to herself, quietly, shyly, letting the moment flow around her like a gentle current. As the sunlight softened, the group suggested a walk to a nearby park, and Emma felt a thrill at the invitation, a gentle excitement that made her heart beat faster. The idea of stepping into the evening together, of walking and talking, laughing and sharing, filled her with a sense of anticipation, a desire to step fully into this new world, to embrace the tender warmth of their company. She adjusted her bag, took a deep breath, and followed them outside, feeling a lightness in her steps, a quiet eagerness that made the world feel brighter, more alive. The streets were quiet, the city lights beginning to sparkle as evening fell, and Emma walked alongside them, listening and contributing, her laughter mingling with theirs, feeling the delicate energy that flowed between them, the small, subtle gestures that spoke volumes, a hand brushing a stray hair away, a gentle smile held just a moment longer than necessary, the way they leaned in when she spoke, all of it weaving a tapestry of connection that made her chest ache pleasantly, a longing she hadn't anticipated, a gentle desire to be close, to belong, to be part of something tender and real. At the park, they found a bench near a fountain, the water sparkling as the city lights reflected off it, and they all sat together, sharing stories that were funny, thoughtful, and a little personal. The kind of stories that revealed pieces of themselves without feeling heavy or forced. Emma felt the subtle intimacy deepen, the quiet bonds forming, making her feel accepted and appreciated, safe yet alive. Welcomed and noticed in a way that left her quietly breathless, she laughed softly at a joke, feeling the ripple of connection pass through the group, warm and reassuring. Emma felt a subtle thrill in noticing the small touches, the way someone's hand brushed hers briefly, the way another mirrored her gestures unconsciously, a rhythm forming without effort, a quiet dance of attention and care, making her heart beat faster, making her feel seen and valued in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. The night air around them was cool, but the warmth of their presence wrapped around her, a delicate embrace, gentle yet electric, inviting her to stay, to linger, to be part of this unspoken, tender story. As the evening deepened, she realized the world outside the park had faded, the sounds of traffic distant, the city lights a soft glow in the background, and all that remained was this delicate, growing connection, the gentle intimacy of laughter, stories, glances, and gestures, a web of attention and care that pulled her in, made her heart lift, made her feel alive, visible, and appreciated. She smiled softly to herself, a quiet, shy, hopeful smile, knowing that stepping into this group, welcoming their attention, had opened something inside her, a spark of life and connection she hadn't realized she was missing. The night had deepened, the city lights twinkling faintly above the park, casting a gentle glow over Emma and the group. She felt a quiet thrill as they walked along the winding paths, the cool air brushing her skin, carrying the faint scent of flowers and grass. Each step was light, full of anticipation, her heart beating in a rhythm that matched the soft energy of the group around her. She realized how alive she felt, how much the simple attention and warmth of these strangers had awakened something she hadn't felt in months, a gentle longing for connection, for understanding, for being fully seen. Emma noticed the subtle details around her, the soft shuffle of feet on the gravel, the quiet murmur of distant conversations, the way the leaves rustled softly in the evening breeze, but most of all, she noticed the group. How their energy seemed to orbit around her naturally, effortlessly, how small gestures carried meaning, how one of the men matched his pace to hers, careful not to crowd, yet close enough to create a feeling of connection, how another woman mirrored her movements. Unconsciously, their laughter light, easy, carrying a warmth that made Emma's chest tighten pleasantly. They stopped at a small fountain near the center of the park, the water sparkling under the streetlights, and the group gathered around, some leaning on the edge of the fountain, others sitting on a nearby bench. Emma feeling drawn to the space, wanting to be part of the conversation, part of the quiet energy that hummed between them. She realized that the attention she had felt in the cafe had not diminished, it had grown, deepened, becoming more personal, more intimate in a way that was gentle yet thrilling. One of the men, the one with the soft brown eyes, leaned closer slightly as she spoke, his expression attentive, curious, and Emma felt her pulse quicken. It wasn't about romance yet, not in a superficial way, but about connection, understanding, noticing each other, being present fully, and she felt a shiver of excitement at the thought, the kind that made her want to linger in this space, to explore the feelings rising quietly inside her, the warmth, the subtle thrill, the gentle longing that made her chest ache in the most tender way. Emma shared a story about a small adventure she had taken recently, a walk through a quiet part of the city she loved, noticing the old buildings, the hidden corners, the way sunlight had painted the streets, and the group responded with gentle questions and comments, leaning in, nodding, laughing softly, making her feel included, validated, appreciated, and her heart lifted with a quiet joy she hadn't expected. The night air around them seemed charged with something tender and electric, a feeling of connection forming naturally, effortlessly, like a soft current flowing through them all. The woman beside her laughed at one of her jokes, her hand brushing a strand of hair behind Emma's ear almost unconsciously, and Emma felt her chest tighten with a warmth that spread slowly, gently, through her body. The simple gesture carrying a weight she hadn't anticipated, a tender connection that made her pulse race lightly, her thoughts softening, focusing entirely on the moment, on the gentle energy they shared, on the quiet thrill of being truly seen and welcomed into their circle. Emma noticed how the first man's gaze lingered, not in a staring way, but with quiet attention, subtle admiration, and a softness that made her feel special, wanted in a way that didn't feel overwhelming, just present, just acknowledged. And she let herself enjoy the feeling, letting a shy, hopeful smile stretch across her lips, feeling the gentle thrill of connection pulse through her, making her chest light, her mind quiet, her heart open to the moment. As the group shared more stories, Emma realized how natural it felt to be there, to speak, to laugh, to listen, to notice and be noticed. The intimacy forming was gentle yet profound, a quiet thread weaving them together, subtle touches, shared glances, soft laughter, nods of encouragement, all of it combining into a web of connection that made Emma feel seen, valued, alive in a way that was almost dizzying, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time, the quiet thrill of being fully present, fully welcomed, fully alive. At one point, one of the women suggested they play a small game, something simple, light-hearted, and Emma felt a rush of excitement, the playful energy breaking gently through the calm night, creating bursts of laughter and shared amusement. Emma joining in with abandon, letting herself be playful, noticing the way the group's energy shifted to include her completely, the subtle glances, the encouragement in their voices, the warmth of their smiles, all of it making her feel alive and fully part of this small, tender universe. The fountain's water sparkled as they moved closer, Emma noticing how reflections danced across their faces, how the light softened their expressions, and how the night seemed suspended, timeless, the ordinary world fading, leaving only the quiet intimacy of shared presence, the gentle attention, the subtle thrill of connection. She felt her pulse rise slightly as she laughed, her eyes meeting the first man's, a small smile exchanged, and she felt the quiet weight of understanding, the promise of something tender, something meaningful beginning to grow. Emma felt herself drawn to the group naturally, moving slightly closer, leaning in when she spoke, noticing how the men and women responded to her presence, careful, attentive, warm, and she realized how much she had craved this simple connection, this gentle attention, this feeling of being welcomed fully, of being part of something that felt soft, real, alive, and emotionally rich, a sense of belonging settling over her like a quiet blanket, warming her from the inside. As the night deepened, the group's conversation slowed, voices softening, glances lingering a little longer, and Emma felt the subtle ache of wanting to hold on to the moment, to extend it, to explore it further, but also a gentle contentment in simply being present, simply being welcomed, simply being noticed and appreciated in a way that was tender and kind, the quiet intimacy wrapping around her heart, making her chest lift, her mind calm, and her spirit light. At one point, the first man reached out briefly, a light touch on her hand as he laughed at a joke, fleeting, subtle, but enough to send a shiver of warmth through her, and Emma didn't pull away, letting the moment linger just a second longer, feeling the pulse of connection, the thrill of acknowledgement, the gentle excitement of intimacy forming naturally, quietly, beautifully, in a way that felt safe, tender, and exhilarating all at once. Emma noticed how the other members of the group smiled softly at these small interactions, the unspoken understanding passing between them, the gentle encouragement, the soft energy that made the night feel like a delicate dance of attention and warmth. A subtle web of connection she had stepped into and welcomed fully, and she felt a quiet joy in her chest, a feeling of being seen, appreciated, and quietly adored in a way that wasn't loud, demanding, or overwhelming, just gentle, steady, and profoundly moving. The park around them was quiet, the distant city hum fading into the background, leaving only the soft whispers of the night, the gentle murmur of the fountain, the light rustle of leaves, and the quiet presence of the group. And Emma felt herself breathing in the moment fully, letting herself be present, letting herself feel, letting herself enjoy the thrill of connection, the warmth of attention, the delicate intimacy of shared presence, the subtle excitement of being welcomed and included in a way that was emotionally profound and tender. As it neared the end of the evening, the group began to rise slowly, stretching, smiling, and Emma felt a gentle ache, a longing to hold on to the night, to linger, to extend the subtle thrill of connection, but she also felt a quiet satisfaction, a warmth in her chest, knowing she had welcomed them, allowed herself to be part of their energy, shared stories, laughter, and gentle glances, and discovered a part of herself she hadn't realized she had missed, the part that craved connection, attention, and tender intimacy. As she finally walked away, stepping into the soft glow of streetlights, Emma felt a quiet exhilaration, her chest lifted, her steps light, her heart full, knowing that she had opened herself up, welcomed them fully, and in doing so, had rediscovered something important, her own courage to connect, to belong, to be seen, and to embrace the thrill of quiet intimacy, subtle affection, and gentle, emotional connection, a story that had begun in a small cafe and grown into a tender, magical evening that she would carry with her, alive, warm, and full of possibility.